पिबन्तो सुकृतस्य लोके गुहां प्रविष्टो परमे परार्ध्ये छायातपो ब्रह्मविदो वदन्ति पञ्चाग्नयो ये च त्रिणाचिकेताः यस्येतुरीजानानामक्षरं ब्रह्म यत्परम् अभयं तितीर्षतां पारं नाचिकेतं शकेमहि आत्मानं रथिनं विद्धि शरीरं रथमेव च बुद्धिं तु सारथिं विद्धि मनः प्रग्रहमेव च इन्द्रियाणि हयानाहुर्विषयांस्तेषु गोचरान् आत्मेन्द्रियमनोयुक्तं भोक्तेत्याहुर्मनीषिणः यस्त्वविज्ञानवान् भवत्ययुक्तेन मनसा सदा तस्येन्द्रियाण्यवश्यानि दुष्टाश्वा इव सारथेः यस्तु विज्ञानवान् भवति युक्तेन मनसा सदा तस्येन्द्रियाणि वश्यानि सदश्वा इव सारथेः यस्त्वविज्ञानवान् भवत्यमनस्कः सदा शुचिः न स तत्पदमाप्नोति संसारं चाधिगच्छति यस्तु विज्ञानवान् भवति समनस्कः सदा शुचिः स तु तत्पदमाप्नोति यस्माद्भूयो न जायते विज्ञानसारथिर्यस्तु मनः प्रग्रहवान् नरः सोऽध्वनः पारमाप्नोति तद्विष्णोः परमं पदम्
Guruji, in between it did unmute.
Hari Om. Can you all hear me? You can hear me now, right? Yeah, okay. Hari Om. Namaskaram. That we were studying the eighth one who is of the discriminative order says his mind is ever pure, samanaskaha, with the mind control, ever pure, and mind control. So the famous chariot metaphor of the Shastras lays the emphasis on the importance of the discriminative faculty of the intellect, the buddhi. There's only one way you can control the mind. There is no other way. If there was another way, they would have said it so. Please get that right. There is no other way to control the mind but to use the tool of the intellect. And when you use the intellect, when there is the influence of the buddhi, your mind will be controlled. At the same time, your mind remains pure. So these two are experienced. In the conclusion, in the last satsang, we made it easier to control the senses than to control the mind. Now, sense control is easier because it's grosser. Mind control is difficult because it's subtler. But however, it is important that we must understand that the entire spiritual sadhana is trying to get your mind under control. So until you get your mind under control, you cannot plunge into higher spiritual practices. You cannot and should not. Shastras don't give you any permission to plunge into any higher spiritual practice without getting the prerequisite preparation of getting your senses and mind under control. And that's very important. So we saw the build up from the third mantra till the eighth mantra, which we did a recap in the previous satsang. Now, I would like to go ahead in the text. In the next mantra, he concludes the thought flow of the chariot metaphor. Okay.
ते विज्ञानसारथिर्यस्तु मनः प्रग्रहवान्नरः सोऽध्वनः पारमाप्नोति तद्विष्णोः परमं पदम्.
The man who has a discriminative intellect as the charioteer and in brackets, you can add the word Vishnu, Vishnu, the Sanskrit word Tad Vishnu Paramam Padam, the supreme state of Vishnu here is interpreted as Brahman. So please add the word, insert the word Vishnu. In fact, the Vishnu, the word Brahman should be in brackets. You can say the supreme nature of Vishnu. So one who has got that authoritative control over the personality, like a charioteer has got an authoritative control over the chariot and the horses, a man of wisdom is one who has an authoritative control, a dictatorial charge over the senses, which are the horses, and the mind, which is the reins. Once you have that, he says, thereafter your mind will not run in different directions. Everything is under well control. So, in spite of all the spiritual practices that you're doing, if your senses are still running wild, if your mind is still not under control, there's inadequate spiritual practice or something wrong with the spiritual practice. You need to measure spiritual state with how much of your senses are under your control. Not just one, all the senses, the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and skin, all the senses must be under your control, and the mind should not run helter skelter. In the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, in the 19th verse, he puts it beautifully. In fact, the chapter 6, which is the yoga of meditation. And I'm talking of that because in the chapter 6, which talks of meditation, there's so much emphasis is on preparation before you even attempt to meditate. And today, the world is clamoring meditation as if there is no other spiritual practice than that. As if there's nothing else. Spirituality is vacuum. The only thing that people, the gurus, are offering is meditation. There's so much the Shastras to offer. Nobody is talking. The gurus are not talking of what the Shastras are talking. Everybody is making noise of meditation. And in the, if any, I would want to perhaps one day sit with all the gurus. If I get an audience, I'll humbly want to sit and appeal to them. This is talking. This is what the Shastras are presenting. Why are you just trying to bypass this and get directly to that? I would want to appeal to them. I want to understand what is it that you're doing. You have an aura to draw minds of people, you influence minds of people. What are you influencing them with? It would be an honest appeal, really. It just baffles my limited understanding. Is there any disruption today? Looks like, right?
Yes, Guruji, on and off, little at times it's going, but it's okay.
Okay, right. I don't know why. Might be something to do with my net here. I don't know. Let me know if required. I will switch networks. Okay. So throughout the Shastras, throughout the 6th chapter, throughout the Kathopanishad, we are talking about controlling the mind. All through, he has kept his message very clear. You have to control the mind with your buddhi. Buddhi is a product of it. There is no other way to control the mind. And yet, there are so many things that are being advocated today in the spiritual field. Now, even in the 6th chapter of meditation, he lays so much emphasis on doing your preparatory work. Preparation is to ensure your senses and mind are in control, and then only you must think of meditation. And you must have a complete mastery of your mind, complete mastery of your senses before you even sit and meditate. And one who has achieved that, in the 19th mantra of the 6th verse, he compares a sadhak to a mind, or rather a controlled mind of a sadhak to a lamp in a windless place. He compares a mind who has a complete mastery. Okay, give me a moment, please. Let me try and switch my networks as possible. Okay. Hari Om. Am I audible now? Okay, right. Sorry for that. I think I had to switch my systems. Okay. So the point trying to make here is the Shastras, which are our authority. It's important whom do you take as an authority. What is your authority? You should never depend upon any individual personality as an authority. The Shastras, which are the source of this knowledge, the source of this wisdom, they should be the authority. And the authoritative texts are very clear that they say that it is important that you keep your mind under perfect control before you plunge into any higher spiritual practices. Now, a mind which is well controlled, a mind which is well restrained, is compared, as I referred, to a lamp in a windless place. When the lamp is not disturbed by the wind, what happens to the flame? The flame shoots up. But when the wind, which is compared to the passions of the mind, the distractions of the world, when the external factors influence or disturb the mind runs helter-skelter, the flame flickers. So when your mind is not influenced by external factors, it naturally shoots up like the flame shooting upwards. Please refer to that verse, 6th chapter, the 19th verse of the Bhagavad Gita. Now, in the 9th mantra, he says, one who has got the mind and the reins under perfect control, he attains the end of the journey. The end of the journey here is said to be as a state of the supreme nature of Vishnu. Now, the word Vishnu does not symbolize the three trinities of God. It does not symbolize, it does not refer to Vishnu, which is who is the creator, the maintainer of the world. Vishnu here represents Brahman, and Brahman is said to be the Nirguna, not Saguna. Saguna is Guna, is Saguna means one with attributes. So Vishnu, when you look at Vishnu as the Lord of maintenance, the Trinity, Lord Shiva, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. Brahma is the creator, Vishnu is the sustainer, and Lord Shiva is the destroyer. So the word Vishnu here does not refer to one of the trinities, because these trinities are Saguna Brahman, means they are representing Brahman with a form. They are not that, but Vishnu here represents the Brahman, which is Nirguna, which is without any qualities, without any attributes. Now, the word Vishnu, the root of the word Vishnu is wish. And the word wish, or you can say vis, means which is all pervading. So the word Vishnu suggests referring to the all pervasive nature. The all pervasive nature, the Brahman, which is it is known to be the Adhishtanam of truth. Brahman, which is represented here as Vishnu. Vis represents something which is all pervading. And that all pervading truth or reality is the substratum, the Adhishtanam of truth. So what you need to understand is when you have your mind and senses under complete control, he almost states that he attains the end of the journey. The end of the journey is there is no rebirth for such a person. Even the previous mantra, he mentioned you are liberated from the cycle of birth and death. All right. So with the ninth mantra, it concludes the chariot analogy, which we have been learning from the third mantra. Okay. Throughout, when we are covering that section of the text, we have amply reiterated and we have clarified all the various concepts relating to the chariot metaphor. Okay, we'll move on to the 10th mantra.
इन्द्रियेभ्यः परा ह्यर्था अर्थेभ्यश्च परं मनः मनसस्तु परा बुद्धिः बुद्धेरात्मा महान् परः.
Now this mantra and the next mantra reveals a certain line of thought of describing Brahman as that ultimate destination. How is that Brahman the ultimate destination, and why? How is it is the superior most? This mantra and the next mantra presents a line of thought. Now here he says, indeed, the sense objects are superior to the senses. Don't worry, there is no contradiction. In fact, there is a contradiction. There's nothing wrong in the typing. Everything is perfect. Sense objects are indeed superior to the senses. That's what the text says. We'll get to that, what it means. The mind is superior to the sense objects. Intellect is superior to the mind. And superior to the intellect is Mahan, he says. Mahan means great. So he is giving a sort of a hierarchy in terms of grossness to the subtlest. So if you want to seek something, you would want to seek something which is the highest. Therefore, the line of thought is to reveal that Brahman as the ultimate spiritual destination. That's what is the attempt here. So it is an inward journey, it's an inward travel. It's not an outward travel. Inward travel always involves jnanam. Thanks, Gayatrima. And the outward travel always involves karma. If we had to go to a place yesterday, it involves traveling. It involves action. It involves exploring places or seeing places for a certain agenda. It involved karma, action. But when you want to travel inward, that inward travel involves jnanam. But outward travel involves karma. So this mantra and the next mantra, as I've said, is a very famous methodology to bring out the comparative subtleties. Which is subtler, which is superior to the other. Now, there are two ways of measuring subtlety. I'm sure you would remember. What are the two ways of measuring which is subtler than the other? In the mantra, he said, though there is a contradiction in the first, but we will explain that. This is superior to that, that is superior to this, and so on. Now, there are two means of measuring subtlety. Anybody remembers what are the two means? One of the means is being used in the mantra. US, any idea?
Pervasiveness.
One is?
Pervasiveness.
One is pervasiveness. What is the pervasive? When you say pervasive, where all does it permeate? Where all does it exist? That is one ways of the superiority. Like you say, oh, I've got 10 acres of land. Other people will say, I only got 5 acres of land. Oh, this, I'm superior to this fellow. Pervasiveness. My wealth is far more pervasive. It's far more than the other. So relative in that sense. One is pervasive. Second thing is control. So one is pervasiveness. The second means of measuring what is superior is what controls the other. But now I've got a fundamental question. Ashwati, if I give you 10 situations between the mind and intellect, which controls the other?
Are you asking the ideal state or what is it currently?
Current state. Ideal state, why should I ask?
If it's the current state, it's the mind controls the intellect.
All right. So many a time, it is the mind that controls the intellect, right? But then, did you read the translation? Gayatri, can you share that once again, please? Just to make sure she has noted it correctly. Everybody is on the same page. What does the mantra say, Ashwati?
It says that the sense objects are superior to the senses. Mind.
No, with reference to the aspect where we talk of intellect and the mind, the second last sentence, if you read there, what does it say there?
Yeah. It says the intellect is superior to the mind.
Fair enough. You see the same thing, I see the same thing, but yet you said many a time it is the mind that controls the intellect. So why is it so? Thanks, Gayatri. If that's the truth, it's a rarity indeed. Many a time it's the otherwise that we experience. Many a time the mind seems to boss over the intellect. The intellect seems to have no control over the mind. Why is it so?
Because it's easier.
Hmm?
Oh yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
No, I always ask interesting questions. Don't worry. I don't know whether the answer may be that interesting, but the questions are very interesting. That I can't guarantee you.
Yeah.
All right, think along. Amitama, what's the answer? I hope there are no external factors disturbing your ability to answer the question.
Hariyam Guruji, no, not today.
Not today. Good.
Okay, I will attempt, sir. So why is it easier for the mind to control the intellect?
No. What's the question?
The question is that the mind is in control of the intellect rather than the intellect being in control of the mind.
Why
Right?
does it happen that many a time the
Why?
mind controls the intellect, then the intellect controlling the mind, even though we say the Shastras say intellect is superior to the mind? Why do we experience the contrary?
So my response to that will be, we are still struggling with the gross. We are still, our sadhana is not strong enough for us to ascend to the subtle. So we are constantly, just in the gross level all the time.
No, but when the mantra says intellect is superior to the mind, he is not laying any condition there. He's not giving any clauses there. So, but it should apply, right?
I suppose it's got to do with how strong you are in your spiritual sadhana, because otherwise you're exposed to the physical temptations, desires, and things like that. So you continue to be controlled by the mind rather than have your intellect, as a superior check and balance on what you're doing, on your actions, on your thoughts.
Okay. And you're answering in your own way.
Yeah.
You answered that. Yes, I give you the points. Yes. Sethuji?
Hariom Guruji.
Hariom, sir. Yes, sir.
Intellect is superior because intellect is subtler than mind. But currently, as she rightly told, we have a weak intellect. Our mind is dominating. So our spiritual quotient is very low. So that is why now mind is dominating over intellect, although intellect is subtler.
Ashwati, are you satisfied with the answer, Sethuji's answer? Why are you laughing?
Maybe a little bit more explanation if you can.
Then you should raise your hand. Ask Sethuji.
Intellect is subtler than mind. Intellect is superior to mind. But now all of us who are spiritual quotient is low, mind is predominant. So mind is, although mind is grosser, mind is dominating over intellect because our intellect is very weak. Say intellect is, my interpretation is below 50%, mind will be above 50%, mind will be dominating. When intellect crosses is 51% and mind is 49, we have superior, the quotient of intellect is more, then intellect will start dominating.
Sethuji, I want to come here. Obviously, when you give more marks to the intellect will control. Obviously, when you give more strength to the mind will control. Is that the way of measuring which is superior here? You can't measure superiority by giving unequal strengths to any particular faculty. If you want to measure which is superior, give equal strengths. That's the point I think should perhaps give a little more clarity. I know you have answered it. All of you have said it. When you say intellect is superior to the mind, give same strength to the intellect and same strength to the mind and let them both compete.
Then intellect will be superior.
That is how you will prove it. But if you say, I give 51 points to the intellect, 49 points to the mind, you're giving unequal there.
No. I am not giving 51 points, but as my spirituality quotient increases, my intellect increases. When my spiritual quotient is 51%, my intellect will be start dominating. When my spiritual quotient is low, although intellect is superior to mind, mind is predominant in me, so mind will be overriding.
Correct. So, in effect, if we go back to that sentence we said, you're right, Sethuji. We go back to the statement, even though intellect is superior to the mind, why is it that we experience the contrary? Is because the mind is stronger, the intellect is weak. So, but when the text makes a statement, intellect is superior to the mind, they are talking when you give equal strengths.
1-to-1.
1-to-1 strength you give, intellect will always override the mind. But now we have an intellect which is we have the mind which is far more stronger, and we've got an intellect which is very weak. Therefore, it is struggling to challenge whatever the mind throws at it. So it's an unequal comparison. So therefore, you can't conclude, sir, I don't experience what the Shastras are saying. I experience the contrary. Your experience is not an authority because you are not taking right factors to come to a right conclusion.
Intellect is subtler, so it is fundamentally known that it is superior to mind. Mind is grosser, intellect is subtler.
That's the reason first we answered that question. What are the means of measuring subtlety of an organ or a function? What is the measurement tool? The measuring tool is pervasiveness, point 1, and control, point 2. These are the two means of measuring which is superior. And in the context, we're measuring control. We're not talking of pervasiveness, but that's another methodology how to measure superiority. You get it, Ji? Yes, Ji. Ashwati, you got the point? It is unequal comparison. For example, if I were to compare an MBA graduate to a second standard student, a class topper second standard student, and a dull head of an MBA student, 3 times is failed in MBA. If I put a test against these 3-time failure MBA student and a topper of a second standard, who will win?
The MBA student.
MBA student. Is this a right? Therefore, you can't say he is superior. Can you? You can't. So when you have to test, I can't put a test against a strong goat to a weak donkey. A donkey will win because it's a superior animal. You have to match donkeys against donkeys, horses against horses, goats against goats. So you have to put people of the same cadre to be able to compare. So amongst the students of the same class, who is superior? So give them equal strengths. Then you see the intellect is always superior. You get that?
Yes, Guruji.
Yes, ma'am. Namita is saying something. When it's told to err is human, it justifies mind controls the intellect as far as human beings are concerned. Indeed, many a time the mind seems to be driving because we don't have the wisdom or the intellectual strength to give it a direction. Right? It doesn't have that. That's the reason the mind is superior. Okay. Now, coming to the mantra, the first he says, indeed, sense objects are superior to the senses. This is a contradictory statement. The truth, in fact, is senses are superior to the sense objects. This is the truth. But the mantra begins by giving a contradiction. The contradiction is, he says, the sense objects are superior to the senses. Now, what is the use of the senses without the sense objects? Can you tell me, does the senses have any purpose or existence without sense objects? Sureshji, I know you had a bounty of beautiful sights. You were reveling in sharing your joyful experience of the beauty of nature. What is the purpose of eyes if there were no sights to see, sir? Isn't it, sir?
Yeah. What is the question, Guruji?
Does the eyes have any existence without sights to see?
Absolutely. Without the sense objects, the senses are of no use.
Without laddu, does the tongue has any role to play, existence?
Maybe you can use the tongue to speak. But as far as the taste dimension is concerned, the laddu is all important.
So the form is that which gives existence or meaning to the senses. So what is superior? Sense objects are superior to the senses.
Yeah, that is what the mantra says.
This is perhaps the sort of logical argument you can give to that statement. How is he saying so? Ears have no meaning without sound. So the senses exist because of the sense objects. It's like the parliament, the members of the parliament and the parliament which governs the country. The parliament of a country, the Indian parliament, has no existence without the Indian people, right?
Absolutely.
Who has elected the parliament? The people of the country. But are the powers with the people of the country? They are not in the way the people of, even though the people of the country have elected the government, elected the parliament, the power is not with the common men. The power is with the government. So if you take that argument, even though the individual is responsible to form the government, is the cause for the government, yet has no power. So the sense objects are the cause, the sense organs are the effect. Without the people, there is no government. Without the sense objects, there is no sense organs. The sense organs have no role to play without sense objects. So which is superior? The sense objects is the cause, the sense organs is the effect. Therefore, we are saying cause is subtler than the effect. Sorry if it's confusing. I'm trying to explain the contradiction the mantra is saying. There's a reason why the mantra gives a contradiction. I'm sure it would have been very easy for the master to say senses are superior to sense objects. There's a reason why the master said the sense objects are superior to the senses. This is the style of the Shastras. They speak the language of contradiction just to wake up our existing intellect, which may be dormant. Sometimes we don't exercise our intellect, we take it for granted. When they speak a language of contradiction, suddenly you start thinking, hey, why is he saying this? And for that, perhaps this argument may justify why is he saying so. Isn't it, Sureshji?
Yes.
We may use this argument to support what is being said. Absolutely. Okay, Ji. So the cause is subtler than the effect. Correct, Ramji? Argument correct?
Sorry, sir. I'm not fully convinced with the argument.
I know that. I asked for trouble by asking you.
Because it is actually a bit convoluted to say that because of the sense objects, the senses exist. When we say you don't become a slave to your senses, let us say, we don't mean that the right use of senses is not to be done. It is a wrong use of senses which should not be done. Okay, that is where actual intellect comes into play. So if the examples you gave that if there is no sound, there is no ear. Now there are different types of sounds, right? So when we say that you get addicted to a sound, then you're talking of a different type of sound. But the same ears will help you to navigate yourself on the road or in somewhere else where you have to perceive the sound. Similarly, um, sense objects cannot be the controller of senses in that sense. So if you see also the two criteria you said, control and pervasiveness. So if you look at even pervasiveness, it is the senses which are all more pervading than sense objects. Because sense objects are,
You are this is absolutely right, Jabir.
I know,
In the context,
I
you are
know,
trying to justify or support what the mantra is saying.
I know.
You know,
But why did he say this? This is what is actually more,
yeah.
more perplexing to me. That why did he say this? Whether the explanation we are working on is the right reason. That is what I was just.
In fact, I would recommend you to pick up some commentaries on Kathopanishad by famous personalities, and you read
Yeah.
these famous gurus who commented authorities on these texts also give a similar line of thought. So
Okay.
I'm borrowing the wisdom, having
I know.
through these great commentaries.
I know.
So what it only says is the senses have a role because of the sense objects. You deprive the senses of the stimuli, the senses have no role, they become redundant.
But that logic will apply to everywhere, sir. Mind also, between mind and intellect also, you can use the same logic. If there is no mind, there is no intellect.
Sir, one quality only we are going mad. Imagine he applies to the entire verse, we will completely go chaos. We'll understand what have we learned so far and what is the text saying. So he's trying to give a jerk to the.
I know. But I will read up, sir. I will read up more from
Please.
other commentaries and then see.
There's a similar line of thought justifying this kind of a contradictory argument. But however, we are clear and we should ground ourselves with the understanding that senses are superior to the sense objects. That is the right thing.
Exactly.
Context, though it is said conversely. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Shivaji, please don't confuse us any further. That condition only I'll tell you to be unmuted.
Sense organs like the data collection centers, they have no other role other than just collecting the data. It's only the senses which have a say on that. What do you do with reduce the volume or increase the volume, whatever you want to do it, or shut the volume. So it's only obviously they have a very limited role. Sense organs are only there to just get the input. So obviously the senses are much superior than sense organs. The role is limited. They have no more say on that.
Correct. Absolutely right. So just flowing with the thought flow, then he says mind is superior to the sense objects and the senses. Obviously, it means that mind controls the senses, mind controls the sense objects. See, what is the job? The mind is that which is responsible for a perception to be complete. A perception is possible. What is a perception? Perception of either sight, sound, smell, taste, or touch. The perception, what is perception of a sight, for example? So the senses are perceiving a stimuli of sight from the sense objects. Like I may be looking at you right now, I may be looking at the screen, but you are not registering what you're seeing. You are perceiving sound, but the perception is not complete because for that fraction of a moment, for a few minutes, perhaps your mind got distracted with something else, the mind has gone somewhere else. The mind is off the classroom. Mind is not backing the perception of sight and sound. The moment the mind does not back the action, the perception is incomplete. You don't perceive. So perception is not complete, or perception not possible without mind's participation. So therefore, you can say that perception is only complete when your mind is available. And one of the biggest challenges in the spiritual sadhana is to make your mind available. It's the mental availability is the biggest problem. So people are involved in a spiritual sanctuaries. You are in a conducive environment, but the biggest challenge is your mind is not available with you. So that the challenge is the mental availability. And why is your mind not available? Because of its preoccupation with various activities. Your mind is so preoccupied. Your mental preoccupation, you're caught up with so many things in the world, and your mind is not available for something higher. And when your mind is not available in the practice, your practice is incomplete. As I'm saying, the perception is complete only when mind backs it. And the biggest challenge is mental availability. So almost like catch-22 situation. You need the mind to do your sadhana, and you don't have the strength to control the mind, and the sadhana is incomplete without the mind. So you don't know where you're going. Many of them are lost berserk, not knowing what to do, what is the right thing to do now. So we have covered sense objects, senses, the mind. Then he says intellect is superior to the mind. So what do the senses bring to the mind? The senses bring various impulses, right? The senses are bringing various stimuli, various impulses to the mind. And so the mind is like a clerk in an organization which is receiving all the various inputs coming from the outside world. And if the mind does not process those impulses, if there is no other authority which is overseeing what are the impulses that's coming, and if it responds without any process, what would you become, Gayatri?
We'll be operating only at the mental level. The decisions are based on mind.
But what is the word?
Emotional.
Mind receives, no, you're not following the thought flow. Your answer is right. When your mind receives the impulses sent by the senses, and if your intellect does not process it, and if the mind itself responds to these impulses, such actions are called what? What do you call such actions? Okay, repeat the question.
If the mind receives the
Impulses.
it does not send it to the intellect to process it. It reacts to the conditions.
It responds to the impulses. Such actions are called Ashama. You repeated the question correctly, Gayatri.
Such actions are called impulsive.
Very good. Such actions are called impulsive actions. And what, by your definition, are impulsive actions?
Which are spontaneous, I mean, without thinking, without applying the mind. You act immediately.
Without thought.
Without thought.
Without any thought, without any reason, without any rationality backing such actions are called impulsive actions. So to make your actions more proportionate, more constructive, more rational, you need to have the intellect. So intellect rationalizes and processes the impulses and acts on reason and judgment. Therefore, intellect is superior to the mind. Should be easy to understand this. And then he says, superior to intellect is the great. The word great is the Mahan. The Mahan, or the word great, here refers to Mahat. The Mahat, or the totality of the mind, or the total vasanas, the total intellect, rather, not total vasanas, please. The total mind or the total intellect is the Mahat, is also known as Hiranya Garbha in Sanskrit. The total mind is the Mahat, and Mahat is superior to the intellect. Mahat is superior to everything else. So Mahat is superior to intellect, is superior to the mind, is superior to the senses and the sense objects. Now, what does the word Mahat mean? One cannot have an independent thought without the influence by the Mahat. The totality of the mind, which is the entire external factors, the totality is that which influences your thoughts, which influences your mind, influences your intellect. You can't have an independent thought without the Mahat influencing it. So you are a part, so it's very easy to say you are a part of the thought of others. So any thought that comes within you is influenced by Mahat. For example, suddenly you entertain a thought of going for a movie. Now, where did that thought come independently in you? What could have contributed for the thought of a movie? Vasantama, can you please tell?
Not only. No. I think it is the Mahat.
Oh, what is the Mahat here? Case you have entertained a thought for going a movie.
Because it is available, it has sense objects that influence the mind, and
No, if you say sense objects or influence, sense objects is in the lowest rung. He says Mahat is superior to the intellect superior to the mind superior to the senses and the sense objects. Now, what influences the intellect is Mahat, he says. So that thought which has come into your mind to watch a movie, Mahat has influenced the thought. So how is that Mahat influencing the thought?
your vasanas.
Oh no, Vasanas is next mantra. He says beyond the Mahat is unmanifest. So you're going beyond this mantra now.
The substratum, whatever.
No. I want you to know, why are you getting off focus? I want you to explain what is your understanding of the word Mahat, which influences your thought. Example, I get a thought of a movie. Is this an independent thought which has come in my mind?
We are all part of that Mahat.
Correct.
The totality.
Correct. Now, can you explain what has influenced that thought in you? Is the question. Okay, I know you don't get thoughts of movies. Never mind. Thought of going for a Carnatic concert. At least that you can explain.
Total of all the minds together.
Mahat is described as total mind. I want you to, I'm looking at an explanation for the word Mahat. You get it?
Sorry.
Oh, you've got it. It's not difficult. Only thing you may not be able to articulate it. No issues. We will ask the most articulative person in the classroom. Any doubt?
Right.
Suresh. ஓ சின்ன ஸ்டோரி சொல்லுங்க சார் மஹத் பத்தி So we can't hear you, sir. Sorry. You'll have to please unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mahat is the ultimate trigger which makes the intellect function, and therefore it is superior to the intellect. You can call it a superior intelligence, or you can call it the soul.
I need to come and stop you here. It is not soul, it is not superior intellect. Mahat is the totality around you. You and I are a part of totality. Okay?
So Mahat therefore is the Atman itself.
That is why I am saying ayyo twice. Mahat is not Atman. Okay, just for since you are saying Gayatri Ma, please stay unmuted. Can you please share the 11th mantra, please? In continuation to the 10th mantra, in the 11th mantra, he says, beyond the Mahat, which is great, is the unmanifest. Purusha is superior to the unmanifest. Therefore, there is nothing superior to the Purusha, the culmination, which is the supreme goal.
Okay.
So when you talk of Atman, that is the Purusha in the text. So, if you note in the hierarchy, beyond Mahat, there is unmanifest. Beyond unmanifest, there is the Purusha.
Okay.
So coming back to Mahat, Mahat is not the Purusha, is not the Atman, is not what you are referring to. But there is a Mahat which influences the kind of thoughts that come into your mind, that come into your intellect. The question I'm asking is, what is this Mahat? We are a part of Mahat. And I said Mahat is the total mind. See,
therefore, it has to be the vasanas or the tendencies. What is influencing my intellect or my thoughts?
Mantra again, please. Mantra 11. Note பண்ண மாட்டீங்க நான் காமிக்கிறேன் நீங்க நோட் பண்ண மாட்டீங்க. Suresh, can you only read, please?
Yeah. Beyond the Mahat great is the unmanifest.
No, unmanifest. Unmanifest is the vasana.
Okay.
Oh, that's
right. Okay. So Mahat is something between the intellect and the vasanas.
Sorry, can you come again?
Mahat is something between the intellect and the vasanas.
Intellect, Mahat, vasanas. Correct.
So it is something between intellect and the vasanas, and therefore it is the power which goes into the entirety and which stimulates the particular way my intellect functions. Like my intellect is going to exercise the choice and tell the mind, these are the choices available to you. Please go in for this because this is the best for you. That faculty which enables the intellect to do that is Mahat, is what I understand. That spark or that faculty or the ability which enables the intellect to tell you this is the right thing. For example, there is total darkness. If there is darkness, the intellect tells you, don't go on cursing the darkness, please light a lamp. So that trigger to that intellect is Mahat.
Sir, I will have to bring to that essential aspect in the concept what we're talking here. The essential aspect is, he says a thought is born in the intellect. The thought is not born in the mind, please.
Okay.
No, the chronology of action, the chronology of any action is it's a vasana, is thought, desire, and action. This is the thought, this is the chronology.
Mm.
So we've just said, you also understood the vasana is unmanifest. So superior to the intellect is the
Mahat.
Mahat, and then the
Vasanas.
vasanas. So from the vasana comes a thought. Now there's another hierarchy they were talking there, but the thought is born in the intellect. We're not talking about the rational ability of the intellect here. The thought is born in the intellect. If a thought has to be born in me, where did this thought come from? He says this thought in me is influenced by Mahat.
Mm.
So Mahat is the total mind around us. That's why we said, when I first said what is Mahat, Mahat is the total mind or the total intellect. What is the total intellect? All the minds around you, all the intellects around you. So all the thoughts and intellects and minds around you are the Mahat, which is influencing your little mind or intellect.
Okay.
For example, when I asked the question to Vasantama, I entertained to watch a movie, Mission Impossible. Where did the thought of Mission Impossible suddenly come in my mind, in my intellect? Where did it crop up? It cropped up because of the totality around me. I have seen billboards of a new movie called Mission Impossible. I've heard people talking about the stunts and the various actions done by the hero of the movie, Tom Cruise, praising his performance. You have seen adverts in the social media, and suddenly you are sitting on one Sunday morning, nothing to do. Suddenly this thought comes in your mind, hey, why don't I go and watch Mission Impossible? Now this thought, Mission Impossible, how did it crop in your intellect? Because of Mahat, that factor that influenced you.
So I think we can say that Mahat is the collective of the sense objects, the senses, the mind, and the intellect. Everything put together is Mahat.
If that's how you define, I give it up.
Because ultimately, everything is interrelated. See, without the sense objects, the senses cannot perceive. Unless the senses perceive, the mind cannot be thrown with so many choices at it. Now, so many choices are thrown at the mind. Therefore, the intellect has to come in and say, these are the choices you have, Baba. Please exercise this one. This is the best. So this entire collective is Mahat.
You can say so, but still understand the sense objects cannot influence the intellect. It's grosser.
Absolutely. But at the same time, the sense objects are the trigger for this entire orchestra to function.
Fair enough. You can say so.
Because this entire orchestra will function only when all these things come into play. It's like a beautiful musical concert. The singer is there, the violinist is there, the tabla player is there, the shruti person is there. Unless the coordination is there, the concert cannot happen. So ultimately, the singer is the intellect who chooses the right song.
Fair enough, sir. You can say that way. I agree with you. But what we are trying to say is there is that totality, whatever form.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Totality. So you are influenced. So therefore, this is the importance of, what's another word for totality here? Gayatrima, you wanted to say something earlier. What's another word for totality?
Totality is, now we are talking is of a Mahat. That is the totality of the.
What's the Mahat? See, you need to have Mahat to plant the right thoughts in your mind, right? Or you need Mahat to plant thoughts in your mind or intellect. So another word for Mahat is satsang. You need to keep the company of the like-minded people, or be in an environment which triggers those kind of thoughts in your intellect. Otherwise, independently, those thoughts may not sprout within me. So satsang is a collectiveness of certain people which influences my thoughts. That's the reason we say come to a physical environment which is conducive to trigger those thoughts. That's satsang. By on your own, you may not allow these thoughts may not crop up naturally. So the company you keep will be conducive for those kind of thoughts to come. Like you go to watch a baseball match, you can't be thinking of cricket in a baseball match. You can't go to a cricket ground and entertain thoughts of basketball or football. Everybody in that ground only thinking of cricket. So the mahat is you're thinking of cricket. You can't think of basketball, you can't think of badminton. So the mahat or the environment constantly influences your thoughts. So watch out what kind of mahat you're exposing yourself to. Which world are you living in? You live in a sensual world, you'll only entertain thoughts of sensual activities. You live in a materialistic world, you'll only entertain thoughts of materiality. You live in a spiritual environment, you are helpless but to entertain thoughts of spirituality. So mahat influences your intellect. That's a very, very profound concept. You may not have control over your senses and mind, but at least you can choose which environment that you want to be in, which company that you keep. That constantly molds you because that creates an environment. Firstly, Ramji, then I'll come to Sureshji. Thank you, sir.
I was just saying that since in the order of hierarchy, Mahat comes.
Yes, sir.
Mahat is superior to intellect. Mahat is subtler than intellect, very clearly, because
Yes.
that is the hierarchy we are talking about.
Yes.
And Mahat is subtler that means it is more pervasive than even the intellect. And it may be in that way controlling the intellect in a way. But the question I wanted to ask you is there a mind for the universe? Because I read somewhere recently that if you sync your mind with the mind of the universe, then you are actually making spiritually, you are moving towards union. So is there something, I mean, we also say that if you want to do something good, the universe will actually conspire to help you, right? So that means is there some overriding internet type of thing which is flowing across the universe, which has an influence on your mind? And is that Mahat? Is that something of that nature we are talking about? He is talking about when he is talking of Mahat.
See, Mahat here talks of a collective thought force to do a collective good. Now, we are all collectively putting our thoughts, energy, resources, time to advance this wisdom. So we all are a part of this wisdom foundation or an organization or an effort to advance this wisdom. So this is the Mahat that we have created for ourselves. So I help you, you help me, we all rub into each other so that we all can advance the larger good. This is Mahat. But when you talk of is there a divine power or a universal wavelength that you can connect to? That is providence.
Okay.
The verse, the mantra is saying, the 11th mantra says of Purusha, that is the supreme most. So when you do your part as a mere instrument of the Lord, without being self-oblivious, you forget yourself in the process of serving a larger good, providence will mend your ends. It will make it happen for you. That's when you are in line, in sync with the totality. That totality is different to the total mind here we're talking about.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, Ji.
So this is what in English language is called as groupthink. There is something called a groupthink, which actually, and that groupthink can extend to a satsang, or it can finally extend to a country also, that the whole country thinks alike. then that influences your mind, your intellect rather. Yeah. Okay.
So there's a certain political sentiment of a
Yeah,
certain
exactly.
act or decision by a government to defend itself, or it takes certain decisions. So it triggers a certain national spirit or national sentiment all over the country.
Yeah, patriotism, for example, could be a national
Yeah.
mind. You know, it is that
Total
group
mind.
think. Yeah. Okay.
There is a mahat, and that influences your patriotism in you, right?
Yeah.
That
Okay.
way you can take it.
Thank you.
It's different to the
Universal. Yeah.
universal.
Okay.
That's beyond. It has no patriotism. It has nothing.
No.
Right, Ji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ji. Yes, Sureshi.
With regard to this satsanga, which you mentioned, Guruji, being in the right company of the right people, the right thinking, people with the right proclivities of the mind, it is so important. I had once shared the story of this Sufi seeker called Ibn Shirazi, who was told that there are two great monks in Egypt. And those days, you know, you had to go by horseback or walk. And he comes to Egypt. Shirazi wants to meet these two monks, and he comes and sits with them. They are steeped in meditation, eyes closed, and they don't open their eyes. They don't speak. He waits for 2 days. The third day, one of the monks opens his eyes, smiles, again closes his eyes. Then after a few hours, the other monk opens his eyes, and this time Shirazi starts speaking. Sir, I have come from very far. I have come to learn something from you. Please say something so that I can get a lesson from you. And then that monk says, Shirazi, life is brief. Don't waste your time doing this and that. Whatever portion of life is left, please devote it to deepening yourself. And how do I deepen myself? Ensure that you are in the company of people who not only speak wisdom, but who also represent wisdom. That will be the right way. And then Shirazi folds his hands and he comes back. The same thing, Sri Ramakrishna, he was so attuned to the Lord, so attuned to Rama and Krishna and Hanuman. You know, he is walking on the road, somebody says, Jai Shri Rama, and he will immediately in ecstasy start singing a bhajan of Rama. You know, that is where, you know, if this kind of mahat can permeate our lives, we will be elevating our spiritual personalities.
Absolutely, Ji. Thanks for the lovely references. Indeed, indeed. You know. Thank you. Ushama, yes, Mahat and universe are one and the same. Yeah, you can say so. They are right. Samyama asking, Mahat has got nothing to do with vasanas. Mahat is a product of your vasanas. So he in the next mantra he says, the Mahat that you are in association depends on your vasanas. I have got spiritual vasanas, I have been spiritual Mahat. I have got sports vasanas, I have been sports Mahat. I have got trekking vasanas, trekking Mahat. Singing vasanas, singing Mahat. Gambling vasanas, gambling Mahat. So that your vasanas determine which Mahat you are keeping in. But the interesting point, which we'll perhaps talk in the next mantra, or the next class, perhaps I want to ask you all this question, leave you all with this question. How does the intellect influence the vasanas? As I have said, the question is, I'll explain the question, but write on the question. How does the intellect influence the vasanas? Perfect. Because just now I said, and answering Saumyama, if I have got gambling vasanas, I'll be in gambling mahat. Then I'll have gambling thoughts. I'll have gambling desires. I'll be in a gambling environment. I'll be gambling. This is the chronology based on the 10th mantra. But if I can't influence the vasana, then I have no say in the matter. As the vasanas, I'll end up living. I have no choice. So therefore, the question is, how does the intellect influence the vasanas? Considering vasanas is superior to the intellect. That's the context. The question is, since the vasanas are superior to Mahat, it is superior to intellect. How can I have a say in the vasanas? How can I have say in the Mahat? You have a say in the Mahat. You have a say in the vasanas. Even though intellect is inferior, intellect has a say. So question is, how does the intellect influence the vasanas? All right. Yeah, what's the use of the cake without the icing, no? Very true. I agree with you, Namitama. It will be very boring. See, I spoke for 1.5 hours. Only Suresh is getting compliments. I tell you. Never mind. Yes, Amitama.
So sorry to ask a question here. It reminds me of the DNA blueprint. It's like what's in the seed. You know, so the Mahat is actually, like I said, like a universal predetermined blueprint sort of as to what's going to happen. So it's like in seed state. I don't know, I'm just bringing in the science analogy of DNA determining. Of course, today we are talking about rewriting your DNA, but you know, starting off with that concept that like you said here, the vasanas are superior to the intellect, but your question is, how does intellect still be in a position to influence the vasanas?
Yes.
So with spiritual sadhana, with awareness, with
I want you to think about it, please.
Okay, sure.
I'm not looking at an answer immediately, please. Just think or ponder over it. What gives it the ability to influence the vasana? Because technically speaking, logically speaking, it is inferior to the vasana.
Yeah.
Inferior, right? So what gives it that ability to influence? We are talking not about influence. We can say through sadhana, you can exhaust your vasanas. You can attain the purusha. So what gives us the ability to challenge the very vasana, the very seed of our personality? I'm rewriting my whole DNA.
Yes. Yeah.
Uprooting my whole DNA and getting back to the self. How is that possible? And the mantras 3rd to 9 said it's possible only with the help of your intellect. Intellect, if you're able to control their mind and senses, you can get to the path of no return, which is the supreme state of Vishnu, the 9th mantra that we learned. So it gives us, it says you have the ability to catch the bull by the horns. You can command, you can be the authority. So the question is, what gives us that ability to the intellect to have that bullish attitude to say you can do anything, you can achieve anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it just reminded me of that. Today, there is a technology called CRISPR that you can actually cut your DNA formation and rewrite the blueprint. Yeah. So we're thinking so many years later. Yeah.
Okay, ma. Thank you. We'll come back. Though we have spilled over a few minutes into the class, we'll come back and continue. Okay. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.